Hey, welcome back to the Common Ground North Dakota podcast. I'm Heather.
And I'm Jen.
I've been a chef for 10 years.
And I'm a registered dietitian. We've all heard the saying, farm to table. But what if the conversation was table to farm?
Join Jen and I as we sit down with ag experts to dig in and find out more about North Dakota agriculture. Welcome back to Common Ground North Dakota podcast. I'm Heather.
I'm Jen.
And we're here for another episode.
Yes, we always learn so many new things when we're on this episode and find connections.
Yes, I'm still thinking about the swine unit.
And the badges.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Lots and lots of things.
There's so many ideas that I have surrounding that. But like, who knew?
Who knew?
That we're leveraging that technology like in scanning. I mean, you can scan everything. Right? And like, to come to the table and like you scan your little badge as a swine at NDSU.
So smart. Yes. So today we have another guest in studio.
Yes, I'm excited to learn. So we always talk like in our professions, right? Mm-hmm. Farm to table. Right. Farm to table is so important for us. I know just personally, like the food tastes so good when you know where it's raised. Right. When I've been a part of that raising, I think it's a source of pride. And the taste, I'm sure as a chef, like you feel the same way.
Yes, the freshness. But I think too, like being able to talk to that farmer and know more about the product. Yep. What are you going to have next week? And I mean, that local aspect is one thing, but I think what we've learned with this podcast is the global reach.
Yes.
We see with food that's grown in North Dakota.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So it's not farm to table. It's like farm to another table in
global table. Global cuisine.
It's every table.
It is every
table.
It's like
this world table that North Dakota agriculture is reaching.
Yes.
Which is really, really cool.
Absolutely. So we're excited to have Jean Henning here to talk about
welcome.
The global table, Jean.
The global table.
You're the guest that we've needed to talk to.
Yep.
Yeah.
To tie it all together and like explain like how does North Dakota feed the world, right?
Yeah.
And like the markets and all about that. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So actually, I did not grow up on a farm. I grew up in southern Minnesota from Mankato. My family had a family grocery store, so a small business.
Okay.
And it was a legacy business. My grandfather came from Ellis Island he started a grocery store. My father ran it. My brothers run it. It is very similar to a farming operation in that it's a legacy. Mm-hmm. My brothers couldn't close that grocery store if they tried. They can't do it. Mm-hmm. It's in their blood.
Right.
Yeah. And so definitely small business. I came through business channels. Mm-hmm. My husband grew up in North Dakota. That's how we ended up back here, raising our kids. We wanted to have our kids grow up in North Dakota. And so we came back many years ago to raise our kids and raise our family. And we do own farmland through my husband's family that we share crop, which is also an interesting story. So we take on some of the risk that farmers assume. Okay. So we pay a portion of the expenses and we receive a portion of the crop. So there are different ways of handling that landowner-renter relationship, and that is one.
Okay.
I like that. I've heard that term all the time, and I've never known what it meant. So
I know.
That's sharecropping, which is great for both ends, because no one's taking all that risk.
Exactly. Yep. It's great for both ends, and it keeps us involved. It keeps us a part of it, and it's really built on trust. And I love that, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's built on trust because we trust our family member that's farming it, and they trust us, and so it's a good relationship, and it works for us.
Okay,
absolutely. So you sort of have two roles as well. So you're the executive director of the North Dakota Corn Council,
correct?
And you also work with grains. What's your role with both of those then, Jean?
Well, the North Dakota Corn Council is a large supporter of the U.S. Grains Council. The U.S. Grains Council is an organization that is responsible for the export of corn, sorghum, and barley.
Okay, so, I see the connection now.
Yeah,
right.
and so we are a funder of the U.S. Grains Council. We are a partner of the U.S. Grains Council. Our farmers participate in advisory teams to help the board of directors make decisions on markets and where they want to see the focus of U.S. exports of corn, sorghum, and barley only.
Okay.
Yeah. Other commodities have their own export organizations. U.S. Wheat is wheats, and USEC, or United Soybean Export Council, is soybeans. So everybody has their own kind of boots on the ground. And the U.S. Grains Council is our boots on the ground.
Okay.
I'm fortunate right now to serve on that board of directors, which I'm very blessed to be able to do that. And so I have kind of a inside working of that organization, which is
great for your position.
It's great.
So how do you give that advice? How do you figure out what's going on with global trade, and where are you getting all this information?
Well, a lot of it comes from in-country staff. So, for instance, the U.S. Grains Council has offices in 28 countries. They're running programs in over 50 countries. It's insane, the amount of reach. In fact, I have to tell you a quick story. I was in Tunisia last year with the U.S. Grains Council, and I went to it's a university that does coursework. And right on the wall, I saw Iowa State University and the Northern Crops Institute out of NDSU.
You're kidding.
In Tunisia.
In Tunisia. And NDSU, NCI, the Northern Crops Institute, many years ago, helped form a milling school. And so one of the best parts of that time that I had there was helping to hand out diplomas to folks from Africa that are coming to this feed mill to learn how to mill corn, how to pelletize and make nutritious pellets for poultry. And they're learning this, and then they're going back to their communities.
Oh, that's great.
It's super cool.
That is so cool.
Like, you're impacting their lives, their communities, it's so important. And so some of what these export organizations do is actually to educate and to help not only sell our product, but to help farmers or millers or energy providers learn and
how to best use it.
How to best use it. Because we're really good at what we do.
Yes. Okay, so you're kind of misnamed because the U.S. you say, but it's 50 different countries. I didn't realize you were in 50 different countries.
Wow. Yeah, every organization, one of these export organizations are on the ground. They are. And so we just had a meeting in Guatemala, and all these in-country staff come and share with us, what the buyers in those countries are looking for. And that really provides a lot of insight to our farmers, to the Washington, D.C. staff on where they should dedicate resources and where the best opportunities are.
Sure. First-hand information, too. You're hearing it from the people.
Yeah. And from your customers.
Exactly.
Like, it's supply and demand, would you say, Jean?
Absolutely.
A lot of times, like, okay, do you want a higher protein product? And where might it be like raised the best?
Absolutely.
You study that? Like, what regions do you feel like you can grow different things?
Yeah, well, and right now, about 30% to 40% of the corn in North Dakota is exported.
Wow. That's a high percentage.
That's a high percentage. And we export out of the Pacific Northwest, so Oregon, Washington State, or to Canada.
So our near neighbors.
Our near neighbors.
Right up north there. But I always think, okay, if we're exporting all the way to these other countries, we must have a really good product for them to pay for that cost.
Yeah, we have a very strong infrastructure and we're very efficient in our transportation. So we have had many years of building up our port system and our rail system. And so all of these factors come into play when you're looking at how are you competitive with other countries.
Yes.
And currently, right now, we are running a study where we are looking at the difference of corn. So corn grown in the United States, not just North Dakota, in the United States, that against Argentina corn and against Brazilian corn. Our corn is actually different than theirs. Our corn is softer. It's softer.
Is that a good thing?
It's just different.
It's just different.
Okay. And our genetics are, we have learned to breed our corn for the ethanol industry. So it's a higher starch content.
Okay. Yep.
and it's softer. And so sometimes that corn looks dustier because it's prone to breakage.
Sure.
And so what we're trying to do is to help our customers understand that they're milling it. They're milling it. They're making it into pellets. They aren't just feeding whole kernel corn.
Right.
So that dust actually has nutritional value.
Yes.
And so we're in the third year of a 5-year study currently. And you can see the difference. The Brazilian corn, the Argentina corn is very small. It's very hard.
Harder to mill, I'd imagine.
And harder to mill.
Oh, makes sense. Yeah.
And it costs more money to mill. But the really cool thing about this project is that we're actually running it through animals. So we're looking at feed conversion rates. We're looking at how are those chickens and how are the pigs able to actually digest.
Yes.
Which super cool, right?
Yes.
Fiber, like insoluble fiber, like what's the ratio of it and what are they actually using?
Exactly. It's super
It's
cool.
like metabolism.
It's right up your, right.
Yes.
And the same thing that works with people works with chickens and pigs and other animals. And so we're looking at these feed conversion rates and we're finding out through this study that actually because our corn is softer and because it has this higher starch availability, it actually will save our customers money by being able to digest it. We have a higher conversion rate.
Makes sense.
So we're going to continue the study to make sure that we're proving it. We're doing it in country. We're looking for a location in Colombia so we can actually do it in country.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Well, and that makes sense from a metabolism standpoint. You want the most energy out of the product that you can. And carbohydrates are always like the main source of energy.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that's true for animals too. But yeah, like to get the most out of what you're getting.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
It makes sense. Yeah, it really, it makes sense.
So then describe, so if you're doing these studies in animals and like studying like how the corn is milled but do you have like products then that are going to human tables too? Like what kinds of things do we export into like that could end up on a table?
Yeah, so corn is predominantly animal feed and predominantly energy. So
makes sense.
So that's what we use corn grown in North Dakota for. Okay. And so but we work with an organization called the U.S. Meat Export Federation. Their job is to export beef, pork, and lamb. Oh. And it's super cool because as Americans, we love hamburger.
Yeah, we do.
We love it, right? Hamburger and steaks. But there are countries that love tongues.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a delicacy.
Yep.
Or intestines. And they eat it, and it's culturally what they want to buy. And so that we're happy to sell that because it has no value here in the United States because we don't have a lot of people eating beef tongue. And so Mexico is a huge market for beef tongue. Japan is a huge market for beef tongue.
Interesting.
I was in Japan, fortunately, and I was able to see a tongue import area where they were processing beef tongues.
What? Wow.
They came in a tote in ice water. So they don't come in frozen. They came in ice water.
Nice little ice bath.
Yeah, they pull these big tongues out of this ice bath.
Yeah.
And then they skin them. They skin them, and then they slice them very thin, and then they flash freeze them to send them out. And they're in the restaurants. There's tongue restaurants only serving beef tongue.
What? You want it sliced thin. It can be good. I just had a beef tongue taco, and it was actually really nice.
What? Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knew?
It's all about preparation.
It's all about preparation.
And quality.
And quality, right. And so they're importing a lot of beef tongue, which is super interesting. So when the U.S. Meat Export Federation folks come to our meeting and we hear about all the things that people are eating that we have no idea people eat, it's kind of, I mean, you hear little chuckles because we can't imagine people eating a lot of intestines, right?
And you can't sell that here, so why not export
Why not?
it?
It provides value back to the farmers. It's a win, right? It's a win-win. They want it, we have it, let's sell it. It's better for us. It's better for our producers.
But without being a part of this organization, how would a farmer ever know that? Right. That it would be needed there. And then how to get it there.
Connections.
Exactly.
Right, Jean? Like that's important to have those connections and understand like, okay, these are our products. You have like a portfolio of products like that we're really good at producing. We have good quality. And now you're just trying to find the okay, where do we put this one? And then where do we send this one? And just to make it important, like for the growers, and connecting those growers to the right markets,
Absolutely.
basically.
And I'd imagine like that's a fluid thing, right? It changes. There's how do you...
The markets, navigating the markets.
How do you navigate the markets?
The markets are tough because a lot of the markets are controlled by governments. And so what you see is when we have good governmental relations, we have good trade. When we don't have such good government relations, I mean, take a look at China right now.
Right.
Our trade goes down. And so really it's about, government relationships, as well as the reason why we have all this in-country staff is they're building relationships. They're building relationships daily. They have people that they know who they are and they can contact when they're looking for, dried distillers grains out of an ethanol plant out of North Dakota. They know who to call. They know who to call when they're looking for animal feed.
You're making it easier for them.
We're making it easier for them. And we're educating, right? We're helping people.
Yeah.
So here's another story. We had a trade team that came through. So we have a trade team that comes through 1 or 2 a year.
Okay.
We had a trade team come through from Taiwan last fall.
Cool.
And they were here specifically for ethanol.
Okay.
So we have 5 ethanol plants here in the state. They came through for ethanol. And there was a woman on this trade team. She was the buyer of ethanol for 2 state-owned refineries in Taiwan.
Wow.
And I was talking to her and, we built a relationship and we were laughing about the food that we were eating or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the trip, we went to Guardian Energy in Hankinson.
Yeah.
And while we were there, she kept asking questions, really technical questions about the chemical composition. And she could not understand. We provided the chemical composition that they were making and processing in Hankinson. And she couldn't understand why all the chemicals that she was looking for weren't on that composition. We came to realize in those discussions that they were buying this super high grade of ethanol. They were buying hand sanitizer, basically.
Wow.
And trying to put it in automobiles.
Oh, that probably didn't work.
No.
It's crazy.
Wow.
And so it was through these discussions, we didn't know. We didn't know.
Right.
And so she could not understand why, when we went to a fuel station, our ethanol was so much cheaper than gasoline. She could not understand it because their government is actually subsidizing their ethanol because it's so expensive. And it's like, time out. Like, none of this makes sense. And so I was like, well, where are you buying your ethanol from? And she said, Pakistan.
Okay.
And I was like, well, okay. And it was our very last lunch. And I said, you know what? I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to be completely upfront with you. I want you to buy U.S. ethanol. Yep. I want you to buy that. Like, you're here because I want you to buy a U.S. ethanol. But at the end of the day, I want you to buy what you need.
And does that make sense for you?
And right. You should buy what you need and not overpay.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Like that's the purpose for the world market.
That's the purpose.
Like, why would you buy something more expensive if you can get like exactly what you need? Like the blend for a little bit more reasonable and be able to fuel more cars or feed more people or feed more animals. Like it just makes good sense. It's common sense, Jean. It's common sense.
It is common sense. And you know what? I think part of what we see in agriculture is that we have been doing this so long.
Yeah.
We're good at it.
Yes.
And we know it. We're confident. We have been processing ethanol for a long time.
Yes.
We have perfected it. We are better and we are improving the process every day.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so when you know that when you're confident in what you are producing, it's actually pretty easy to sell it.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think that's true of North Dakotans, right? And so you get these people from Taiwan coming. So you're actually forming a relationship and you're being real with them. You're not trying to just sell them something they don't need and then they believe you and they see it.
Right.
And that changes everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's that trust, like
that
you mentioned.
Trust.
You develop, and that's the important part of relationships. And like at the bottom is always trust.
It is. Without trust, you don't have a relationship.
No. And like you can't move forward beyond that, right?
Exactly.
So I think it's bringing those consumers to the locations. Here's exactly what we can offer.
Right.
Here's the difference. So like the educating part of what you do, I think is a vital part of it too. And like showing them the difference between, and is this the right fit for you? And this is why. That's a lot of times what I end up doing like with clients. I'm like, okay, this is what I would recommend, and this is why, right? The why's behind it, because that's really
the
where
motivation.
It's important.
Yeah.
It's important. I mean, you have to help people understand what we do and why we do it.
Yes.
Right. So Are we selling ethanol to Taiwan now or what?
Taiwan has other issues, and so we are looking at opening that market. Yes.
Okay.
But it gets back into this governmental situation.
Sure.
Right now, if we look at where opportunity lies, what we're hearing is India. Everyone is looking at India.
Really?
Yeah. India is a very popular country right now, simply because of their demographics. I think we talked a little bit about, population density.
Yes.
Right? And we're in North Dakota, we have 11 people per square mile. And in India, it's 1,244.
That's a lot of people to feed.
That's so much different than here.
It is so different.
Well, and then you think then there can't be as much farmland either, right? Because people have to build houses and.
Good point.
Yeah. It also gets back to another trade team. I had a question on why we don't grow more table to farm, getting back to your table to farm. Why aren't we growing more lettuce and carrots? Why aren't we growing more tomatoes?
Have they been here?
Well,
I know.
They were here in the middle of
our climate, right?
Yeah, they were here in the middle of, they were here and it was cold. It was like November and it was freezing cold a couple of years ago. But I think part of it is that we're coming from cultures that the farmland is used directly to feed them.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we are super fortunate to live in a rural area where we have 11 people per square mile. And we have a lot of farmland.
Right.
A lot of acres of farmland. And so we need to be able to produce a product that can store.
Sure.
True.
That has a world market, that we can feed animals and we can sell it all throughout the year because of our climate.
Right. And transportation, once again, like we're kind of isolated. So to be shipping tomatoes to wherever really isn't the best thing.
You really understand the difference in cultures, right? Because they are coming from an area where I think this person was Japanese. This person's coming from an area where the population density is, 700 or 800 people per square mile. It's just completely different place. And so it helps us understand them and they understand a little bit more about us.
Absolutely. I think I work with blue zones a little bit and so does Heather, like in Grand Forks, and we study the Japanese culture, and in Okinawa specifically is a blue zone and how they garden, right? I remember watching a video of a little lady out in her garden, and that's how she starts her day.
Yes.
So it's so interesting. And you're right. Like they're so used to using their little backyard and they're growing just for them. And I go out to my little garden and I have this and you come here and you're like, what, you don't have all the stuff.
But it's interesting because it's like that intentional thing that she's doing. So here it could be like going to feed your hogs in the morning, right? It's just different. Like they're tending their garden. We're feeding our hogs, right?
Feeding the world.
Yes.
No big deal.
Japan is super cool. I mean, we went into a grocery store in Japan and they sell square watermelons.
What?
They take a watermelon and they put it in a box. And it becomes square. That watermelon costs $100, and they give it as gifts.
Oh,
their cantaloupes are their fruit is beautiful, greenhouse, built in, grown in greenhouses. But square watermelons, $100 for that square watermelon.
$100?
A cantaloupe is $50.
What? Is that shaped something fun?
No,
or it's just
a regular.
It's a cantaloupe, but
$50?
They give it as gifts.
Okay. I mean, I have to say, the strawberries in Japan are the best I've ever eaten in my entire life. Their fruit is really good.
The grapes are insane.
Yes.
I paid $20 for a small bunch of grapes, but each grape was huge. I mean, absolutely the best fruit probably I've ever had, but it is expensive.
I'm glad you said that because a lot of times when I'm working with clients in North Dakota, it's, oh, our food is too expensive to eat healthy. I'm like, oh, you have no idea.
It's
right?
Exactly.
Like you just illustrated that. Like it could be a lot more expensive.
Right.
Yeah, our food is actually relatively cheap.
Yes.
Even now with higher prices, our food is still relatively inexpensive compared to other parts of the world.
Well, especially the food we're growing here, like edible beans, lentils. I mean, you can buy those things for pennies. Like it's really reasonable.
And buying in bulk.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so interesting. So going back to then the work with the U.S. Grains Council. So then you meet together as a council and you go to different places. Then how are like the things that you learn, Jean, how are they communicated back to the growers? Like, do they contact you with the U.S. Grain Council, or are there newsletters or different things that they can go to find out what's the latest?
Yeah.
What do we need to grow?
So we do reporting and magazine articles and all kinds of things. So and when I speak about us, I mean, other commodities are very similar. We have magazines that we send out. We talk about, like we'll do a spread now. I mentioned that we have a farmer currently in Bangladesh, right? A single farmer. And he's the only farmer from the United States representing corn farmers in the United States. And he's in Bangladesh right now.
Wow.
Doing a presentation on his farm.
Cool.
Talking about his family.
That's amazing.
Talking about his acres and his crop last year. It's super cool that he has that opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
And so so we will probably do, I would say probably two or three pages just on that trip, because it's
that's neat.
Super cool, right? Like with photos and the whole bit. And so we keep everybody up to date on those kinds of things. And then every year we also do a summary of our year and what we've been doing and what the Grains Council means to farmers and all these things. So it's super interesting. Our job is really to communicate their work.
Okay.
And so it's pretty easy because they're always working on behalf of the farmer here in North Dakota, but they're also providing needs, right? Like they're helping people improve their lives, which is meaningful to me.
Do you have a favorite like experience from your time, either with the Corn Council or U.S. Grains? Do you have like
it's probably hard to narrow it down.
Honestly,
this was so impactful.
Yeah,
like,
when
this
I was,
experience.
I already mentioned it. That trip to Tunisia when I was handing out those diplomas. Yes. Honestly, I had tears in my eyes. I had tears in my eyes. I seen Northern Crops Institute, North Dakota in Tunisia, helping people improve their communies. I had tears in my eyes.
It's a feel good moment, Jean.
It was a feel good moment. Like it was like, okay, I get what I'm doing I get now.
You see it firsthand.
Yeah, and how proud they were. They were so proud to have gone through that course and to learn and to take that information back to their communities.
Yeah.
All over the place in Africa, to all kinds of different countries. It was really, that was my favorite moment.
Yeah.
It's one that I will always remember.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love that.
That is a great moment.
Yeah, and you wouldn't think, like going to a different country and seeing North Dakota represented. It's always like a, wow, people know about us.
I
like that we're sharing that information because we are research. I mean, we're one of the best research institutes in the world. So to take that information and to share it, that's what we need to do.
Yeah, it's meaningful.
Yes.
It's really important. And that's part of their job, right? Like their job is to educate students, but also to educate the community and educate the United States. And because we have the best and the brightest in North Dakota at those universities.
Yep.
So they're very good at what they do.
Absolutely.
And it gives back to, like I said, when you're confident and you're knowledgeable and you know that what you're doing and what you're producing is the very best possible. It's easy to get yourself to Tunisia and be a part of a milling, institute.
So
it's very cool.
So you've mentioned that, we've done this for a long time. We're confident. Do you see like that clients or consumers or customers from around the world seek us out just because they know we have the highest quality products? Do you see that, or like?
Yeah. I do. Yeah. I would say right now, currently, I mean, part of it is, we have the USMCA. So that is a free trade agreement between Canada and Mexico. So Mexico is the #1 importer of U.S. corn.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I should have saved this. This could have been one of my questions. Dang, I should have saved
Really
it.
interesting. So how much are we shipping down to Mexico?
A lot.
Okay.
A lot. And so they are the number one importer of U.S. corn.
Okay.
Canada, for instance.
Yeah.
See, I'm giving you all the. I'm giving you all the information. Canada is the number one importer of U.S. ethanol.
Interesting.
Our neighbors to the north.
Okay.
Which also is really great for North Dakota.
Right, because that's easy for us. They're right up there.
And at the end of the day, we would like to process, right? We want to add value to our own product. So whether it's through animals or whether it's through ethanol, we want to add value back to our product and then ship that end product. Because that adds value along the chain, and someone else in North Dakota can have their part of that corn, right?
Yep.
So are each of those things due to trade agreements?
Well, okay, so that one is a trade agreement, but trade agreements have taken kind of a back seat. Gets back to these government relations, right?
Okay.
And so free trade agreements have become kind of difficult to achieve.
Okay.
You've heard a lot about tariffs.
Yeah.
Tariffs have become kind of a common method of, we aren't happy, we're going to slap a tariff on.
Okay.
And that is difficult because what tariffs do are they pass those charges on to consumers. That's all they do. So when a tariff is applied, you will pay more for whatever it is that you're importing.
Then I'm not going to buy it.
As consumers.
Yeah.
That's
right, because I'm looking at the price.
You're looking at the price. So that's how tariffs work. Basically, the government slaps a tariff on, and that all of a sudden that 19% or 7% or whatever that tariff rate is gets applied to the cost of that good, and it comes in, and you as a consumer will pay more. And so that has kind of become a common, a common method
like for food.
Yeah.
But those come and go, right?
They come and go as relations cool or relations get warmer. They come and go.
There's so much that goes into it.
There's so much
Beyond the food, right?
Yeah.
So you have a lot to pay attention to.
There's a lot to pay attention to.
Like, what are our government relations like
in
this
every country?
Right.
And like, can we get this product here, and like, what's it going to cost,
Yeah.
and what do they need? Like,
Yeah.
lots to pay attention to.
Yep.
Wow.
So Japan also has become, we have great relations with Japan. And so Japan also has, they're a smaller country, and so they don't have the need of, say, a Mexico or a China.
Okay.
But they have always kind of preferred like U.S. beef.
Yep.
They love U.S. beef.
Yes.
Because it tastes better. I'm going to be honest, it tastes better. It depends on preparation, 100%. But there is a difference between U.S. beef and Australian beef and Brazilian beef.
Yes.
There is a difference. And so like the U.S. Meat Export Federation, they go in and they market U.S. beef, buy U.S. beef, and it's in their airports and it's in their grocery stores, and they hired a chef, one of their very popular, like the Martha Stewart in Japan, to do cooking demonstrations in the grocery stores with U.S. pork and U.S. beef. Yeah, it's very cool.
Everyone loves a sample.
Always.
Everyone loves a sample.
They do. Well, and then when they taste it,
Yes.
that's really where the product shines. Is it not true?
It is true. It is true.
Or like just seeing it and like,
It is true.
it's one thing to see it, but
We
it's
do
another
have
to
some
taste it.
really. So I was just in Western North Dakota, and I picked up some really beautiful steaks before I left, and I came home just salt and pepper. I mean, I didn't do anything to these things. It was the most beautiful beef. It was so good. We grow. It's
Where'd you
the
get
best
it?
of the best. Oh, this is the best story. So Dunburger, they're the ones that grow. Like, that's their ranch. And we spoke with her, and she told me that they sell it at the Senex store in Killdeer. So on my way out of town, I
love it.
I filled up at Senex, and then I went in and I bought my beef. Like, how convenient is
It's
that?
super convenient.
And this is like another thing to love about North Dakota.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
The small town.
Just easy.
I've bought meat at Mac's. So I'm in Fargo, right?
Okay.
There's Mac's hardware store. I bought meat there.
Yes.
Right? Because it's there.
It's there, and you know where it's
good.
from, and yes.
And it's good.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to hit up Max.
Yeah,
Thanks
I
for
love
the
it.
info. I like that, Jean.
We always like our good connections. With
You always
the
find
produce and the beef, and now I got a bean guy, a pork guy.
Yeah.
All these things. I'm like, well, I know a person.
My husband and I went on a meat market tour.
What?
Like very strange, right? But we have a list of meat markets all over that we hit. Like when we're here, we go to this meat market. When we come through the Twin Cities, we go to this meat market.
Yes. Oh, I need to see this list.
We need to add this to our road trip, like agendas.
But that is so true for North Dakota. There's all these hidden gems, right?
Absolutely.
Yep. And you have to find them.
Yep. Or you have to listen to the podcast.
Yeah, we'll
tell you. So we can tell you where to go because of our, how many episodes have we done now?
Senex and Killdeer, North Dakota. Check it out.
I will.
Shout out.
Yeah. It's really good.
Thanks for the tip.
Yeah. Okay, so did you save any questions for us?
Oh boy, this is going to be tough.
Are we ready for host halftime?
Oh, man, Jean seems
She's going to have some good ones.
I know. Like, and Jean, just shock us with your knowledge here.
Well, she already has.
I know. Right?
God dang it. I wish I wouldn't have used that, the where is U.S. corn going?
So you'll love our trophy here, Jean. Mm-hmm. Our golden corn trophy that I successfully won.
I love it.
Sometimes I'm not as great at trivia as Heather is, but I can.
We do our best.
We do, and it's kind of fun competition because I feel like it blows our minds sometimes.
Yeah, it's all
about
the learning.
What?
It's all about the learning.
Okay, so the first question is, and it's fairly close to here.
Okay.
So there was an elevator that, so normal rail cars are 110 cars on a train.
Okay.
110 cars. That's a little fact for you. The longest train actually came out of North Dakota. It exceeded 110 cars. Where did it come from and where did it go?
Okay.
Oh. So start and finish, Jean?
I mean,
start and finish.
That's a really tough. It's a two-part question. First,
it was. I'll give you a little hint. It was a couple years ago.
Okay.
So it was like 3 years ago, but it made a lot of noise because it was the largest train in the United States that came out of North Dakota,
and
it went somewhere.
Okay, so I'm going to say Thompson.
P&W.
And P&W.
Drayton, it went to Portland. So you both assumed it went to the P&W, but it actually went to Canada.
Oh, it went to Canada.
Yeah, you both are wrong.
Where did it start?
It started in Honeyford.
Honeyford.
Tell me more. Where's that?
Honeyford, North Dakota.
North.
It went from Honeyford to Alberta.
Ooh.
So during the period of a drought, Canada had a severe drought 3 years ago.
Okay.
Severe drought. They were not able to produce enough to feed their own cattle. So they took a train out of Honeyford that was 142 cars.
Wow.
Oh.
So 31 cars more than what is considered the average rail car.
They just kept latching them on there because they needed more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Super cool.
And Honeyford, it's a small little town north of Grand Forks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. So that
great.
one. Okay, I'll have another one.
That's a good fun
one.
fact. Okay.
I know you've talked to a lot of people about corn, so the ethanol industry, but there is a product that comes out of the ethanol industry that is used for animal feed that we also market.
Okay. And what is that?
Is that the question?
That's the question. What is that? What is that?
There is a product.
There's a product that comes out. It's considered a byproduct.
Yeah.
From our ethanol industry.
I mean, cornmeal?
It's used for feed.
What did you
put
guess?
the bran.
Wow.
What is it?
We got a lot of work to do.
You look disappointed. She looks really disappointed.
So
we should have rewatched our episode.
So it's called dried distillers grains.
Oh,
so dried,
we've heard this.
Yeah, dried distillers grains is considered a byproduct, but it's higher in protein. All of our ethanol plants produce it as a byproduct from the ethanol process. Although it's becoming so popular in animal feed that it's like, are we an ethanol plant or are we a feed plant?
Wow.
Super interesting.
That is.
Dried distillers grains.
Oh, we got to commit that to memory.
Dang it. There is no winner yet.
You
No.
look very disappointed in us.
I know.
We have to get this one, Jen. Come on.
Okay, I'm just gonna see how well you listen. Where is where does U.S. corn? Where is the top importer of U.S. corn?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, we know this.
Yeah. Mexico.
You were listening. Thank you. Thank you.
She gave us a softball.
Thank you.
We hit it.
Thank you.
So we tied again, which is fine.
Thank you for that. I mentioned an organization that works with beef, pork, and lamb.
Yes.
What's the name of it?
Oh, you did say that. I remember.
See, I gave you hard ones.
I know.
And now I'm giving you softballs.
Don't you remember
to
her
see
saying that?
how well you listened?
Yeah, it's like the meat. Meat, protein.
Or is it animal?
Animal. We're trying to read her face.
This is sad.
I know.
I'm never coming back.
I know. Don't tell my mom.
Don't tell my mom. Oh my gosh.
What is it, Jean?
You give up. The U.S. Meat Export Federation.
Oh, we should have known that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were right. You said meat.
How about this one? I'm going to give you one more little softball. Okay. You know, corn comes in rows.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in the United States, how many rows? So for every, I don't know, how many? So I'm trying to ask this the right way. How many rows of corn are exported versus how many are in the field? So is it one in 10?
Oh,
one in 10? One in how many?
In the whole United States?
Yeah, in the United States. How many in a row in a field of corn? How many rows in that field? 1 of 10, 1 of 5, 1 of 20. How many are exported?
1 of 4.
I said 7 out of 10.
It's 1 out of 3.
Is it?
Yes.
A third, right?
A third.
Going back to your 30%.
Going back to 30%.
Oh, that's pretty high.
That's pretty high.
Mm-hmm. Those are great questions.
Yes. Gosh, you have a lot of facts.
Fun facts,
Fun
Jean.
facts. Fun
Yes.
facts.
File them away.
File them away.
I think we might need to have you come back.
I don't know.
There's
We'll see.
more there that we can pull out of Jean, don't you think?
100%.
Yes.
We'll see. And we will remember dried distillers
And to
grain.
redeem
Thank
ourselves.
you. Dried distillers grains. It's a thing. It's a big thing.
It is.
And it's really important to our ethanol plants. I mean, when you look at those ethanol plants, they're all in communities less than 2,500 people. Mm-hmm. That is significant. And when you're talking about infrastructure, you're talking about, when you talk about infrastructure, when you talk about jobs, you're talking about schools, you're talking about I mean, it all gets back to national security. Food security is national security.
100%.
Right?
It is.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
So
You
it's
got to be able
interesting.
to like feed your population,
Yes.
but
Yeah,
then like if you have excess, that's always a good thing, right? And storage you mentioned too, like drying down and how much storage.
Yeah.
That's so important.
Yeah. North Dakota touches the world.
It does.
In so many ways.
So you kind of brought that full circle.
I love
Jean.
that.
Yeah.
Like
I love that
on-
visual.
Yeah, it's all about, and like I said, it really is a win for everybody.
Yes,
You know?
absolutely. So we have usually one final question that we ask our guests. And we know like people are so important to all of our guests, it seems like. But is there a favorite piece with your role within North Dakota agriculture that you can think of? What's your favorite part?
The people. It is the people.
Of course.
It's, I have met some amazing people, really intelligent people, really smart. Farmers in North Dakota are so smart. Yeah. They know, business, they know the chemistries, they know, they have to know so much.
Yes.
And so, so I really value that. Like, having 2 or 3 farmers, I'm like, they're talking about mycotoxins. Can you tell me more about that? Right? Because there is no way that one person knows everything about everything, right? And so you have to have people that you can go to and ask questions. And I would have to say it's the people, and it's just the knowledge base of all those people.
And I think we've seen that too, Heather. Like as we've had guests, we're like, wow, I didn't know there was a soil fertility expert.
There's
like,
so many
who knew?
resources.
Like, and then like crop genetics and like growing practices. And there's different things for different crops. And like,
all these
where do we grow?
expertise that are needed.
Yeah. People think of agriculture as you put a seed in the ground and it waters and it grows. There is so much more There's so much more. And so in the role that I have, we really focus. We know farmers are going to produce.
Yeah.
We know that they're going to have a great crop.
Yep.
We know that the supply will be there. Our job is really to focus on what do we do with it and how do we get the word out and how do we build relationships to help sell the product.
Absolutely.
And what a big thing for the farmers not to have to worry about.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because the growing piece is big enough.
That's big enough and hard enough.
Yes.
So they have advocates.
They have advocates.
Like you.
Exactly. They have advocates.
I love it.
Like me and like several people. There's so many people that are working on behalf of farmers. All the people that I mentioned at the U.S. Grains Council in country, all over the world.
All over the world that are like,
all over the world.
They have their best interest of the farmer and they're going to bat for them.
Right.
Exactly.
They're educating, they're promoting it, they're talking about what do you need and sending that information back and like that global reach with technology.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
It makes it a little easier than it did in the past.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. It's really cool. It's very big and a little daunting at times, but yes.
Absolutely.
But I love the confidence and the passion, and that comes back to believing in your product.
Exactly.
Right?
does.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You believe in your product.
Yes.
And you know that like I mentioned with our ethanol plants, I am so every time I go into an ethanol plant, I am absolutely amazed because it's not like we're not just doing status quo. We're looking at how do we improve? How do we expand? How do we make it more efficient? How do we have a better product? What do we do with our byproducts? We use everything. And then also, how do we become more sustainable?
Yes.
Right? How do we reuse our water and reuse our heat? That is important and really cool stuff.
And they're figuring it out.
And they're figuring it out.
Jean, I feel like you have the top 5 strengths that I admire. Maximizer, ideation, like getting good to great, like taking products from good to great and like what else can we do? Like thinking outside the box. I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. Thank you so much
Jean.
for coming in.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, that was fun. I want to keep Jean here.
Yep. I think we need to.
Should we just lock the door?
I know. We got to remember those fun facts.
Yes.
We got to rewatch all of our episodes.
I might have to rewatch this
and
one.
just the global reach, right? And the importance of that and relationship building and wow, like the story.
I love that.
About the diplomas and the pride.
In Tunisia. I mean, I can't wait to share that with my kids.
I know. It's so fun.
Yeah.
So again, we learned so much and I'm looking forward to more.
Can't wait till next time. Listen to wherever you listen to podcasts or watch us on YouTube.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to the Common Ground North Dakota podcast. Make sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Most importantly, send us your questions about North Dakota agriculture by visiting our website. You might win a prize. We'll see you in the next episode of the Common Ground North Dakota podcast.